There was a time many years ago when I was a pretty good athlete. It was in that moment before everybody hit their growth spurts, and I did not hit mine. And I played football, and I wrestled, and I ran track. And I think about that time, right? Think about if you've ever been involved in a sport, about who is applauded, about who gets attention, about how you excel, right? Who are the people that get the attention, that excel, that are important when you're playing on a team? What's that? The quarterback? The biggest, the fastest, right? The best at that activity. It's also the way, right? It's the way much of our world operates. You excel if you are the best at what you are doing. And so from a young age, we're taught to find the thing that you are good at and be better at it than everyone else, and you will be rewarded. At the heart, that means that everybody is in competition with everybody else, right? That the goal in most of life is to be better, is to beat someone else, to get the promotion. And if you get the promotion, that means that someone else did not. And if someone else gets the promotion, that means they took it from you. If someone else gets the spot in the starting lineup, why didn't I? Because I wasn't good enough, fast enough, big enough, strong enough. I didn't excel enough. We reward in so much of life the competition with others. This zero-sum game where there are very clear winners and very clear losers. In the words of the great prophet Ricky Bobby, if you ain't first, you're last. Right? And so much of our life is set up that way. Even often, especially as we're teenagers, right? Friendships and those interrelated relationships that we have in school are even set up that way. And what is striking about these first Christians who show up in the book of Acts is that they are defined by the opposite of that. If you've never read through the book of Acts, what we read today is the end of the Pentecost story, right? So next Sunday we'll read the first part, the tongues of flame and the people speaking in various languages and Peter's sermon, and all of that ends with this definition of what the first Christian community was. And what it says is, they worshiped together, they gathered in one another's homes, and they shared everything. They shared everything. The first Christian community gets marked both within themselves and by those who are commenting from the outside by this ability to depend on one another, that they rise or fall together, that the goal is that there are no losers, but we all win together. And you see this reflected in architecture of churches, not ours, although it's a little bit there, but traditional churches. So I'm getting ready, Megan and I were going to travel to Italy, and she knows that she has to take David to old churches. This is what I did on my pilgrimage too, right? I went to churches. You might call it a busman's holiday. I love churches, right? So this is what a lot of medieval churches look like, with that vaulted ceiling up above it, which is not an accident. It's called a nave. The area where you are sitting is called the nave of the church, right? This is the chancel, that's the nave. And the nave is built like the hull of a ship. We're all in the same boat. Naval right? The nave. We're all in the same boat. I cannot not care if your end of the ship is sinking. If you sink, I'm in trouble if we're in the same ship. We're all in the same boat. This is what the church has often said about who we are. St. Boniface said, in her voyage across the oceans of this world, the church is like a great ship being pounded by waves of life's different stresses. Our duty is not to abandon ship, but to keep her on her course. The church is a great ship that we are all in together. And our purposes, our success, our failures, whether or not we get to our destination, are all tied together. We've heard before, and I've said before, that I think that one of the things that's deeply dividing this nation and the modern world apart is this idea that I only have to care about me. That if I make it, I'm a success regardless of what happens to you. And what the early church said as they shared everything, as they united into this ship that is the church, they said, we are inextricably bound together. I love the way Dr. King says it. He says, we are caught, listen to this, we are caught in an inescapable network of mutuality. An inescapable network of mutuality. Whatever affects one directly affects us all. Paul says it this way, weep with those who weep and rejoice with those who rejoice. If one part of the body suffers, the whole body suffers. If one part of the body celebrates, the whole body celebrates. What King calls this is the beloved community. And as we come to this end of this radical faith discussion of Easter, this encounter with the risen Christ, I think that this is a great ending point. The beloved community. He takes it from the writings of John, the beloved disciple in John, the one that Jesus loved. Beloved friends from 1 John, and the way that 1 John talks about it. So he talks about this beloved community, rooted in nonviolence, rooted in a lack of competition, that rejoices in one another. This is King's key idea. In fact, this is what he writes his doctoral dissertation on, the beloved community. He goes to Boston University wait for it, Boston, before his first pastorate, and he gets his doctoral degree. And he gets it in studying the idea of the beloved community. And the beloved community is the opposite of what the world calls us to. So at its core, the world says you are in competition with everybody else. At its core, the world says you need to find out what you're best at and be better at it than your neighbor. You need to figure out what everybody else is doing and do it even better than them so that they lose and you win. That's the message. We receive it in high school with our academic ratings. And where do you line up in the academic ratings? Did you make the team or not? We hear about it when we find our first job and when we're 20-somethings and we get our first job and we start comparing the paycheck of that first job with our friends of the same peer group and their paycheck. The competition to have kids first among ourselves or to get married first because, everybody has to get married. No. So, rather than this sense of the beloved community being this competition, often we use sports to talk about Christianity, and I think that's a mistake, right? I would rather us turn to Hermie. Do you know Hermie? If you are about the same age as me, you definitely know Hermie. Hermie is from Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer, and Hermie is an elf who, rather than making toys, wants to become a dentist. And the thing about Hermie is the thing that makes him different than everybody else is what makes him special. We often are told that we need to be a certain way, that we need to fit in, and then we need to excel at that. We need to do what everybody else is doing. Whether that is living the suburban life with 2.5 kids and the job and, the whole shebang. Excelling at our job, belonging to the right church, fitting in. And what I think we discover in the gospel, and what I think makes our community here at Spirit of Joy special, is we believe that God fully loves you, your whole self, every bit of you, even the part that's an elf that wants to be a dentist. That whatever makes you weird is probably the thing that also makes you special and we love most. This is why pride is an important part of our identity as a church, right? Because the world says you have to be a certain way. And we say that God has made us the way that we are supposed to be. The world says you have to fit this mold. Straight, white, suburban, etc., etc., etc. And we say, look at the gifts that God has given to us. There's a follow-up to the story of Hermie, right? It's the island of misfit toys. I think, it's time to update our image of the church, that the church, if it is anything, is the island of misfit toys. It's the bit where we don't try and say we all have to be the same, but rather we are stronger. We are better because we are all different. We are stronger and we are better. We are a beloved community because God has made us all unique, and we bring different gifts to this table that is the church. And some of us like to stand up front and talk. I bet that's not all of y'all. Some of us like to prepare the table for communion. Some of us like to go out and volunteer at the food bank. Some of us like to organize and bring people together. Some of us like to fix meals for those who are in need. Some of us like to celebrate with those who are rejoicing. Some of us like to help take care of the children. There are a variety of gifts. This is deeply biblical. 1 Corinthians 12. There are varieties of gifts, says Paul. And not everyone should be a teacher. You are a body. Not everyone should be a set of eyes. But we need hands and feet and hearts as well. There are a variety of gifts, but one Spirit, one church. The other follow-up, of course, is Elf, which is the same story as Hermie, right? It's somebody whose greatest gift is that he's not like the others. We are this community of beloved disciples, this community that rises or falls together, this community that says to each and every one of us, God loves you the way that you are right now. God loves your whole self. Even that part of you that you don't want to show to other people, God loves that too. Even that part of you that perhaps you've been criticized for in the past, God loves that too. God loves your whole self completely. And together, as the church, we have the opportunity to create something better than each of us alone. We have the opportunity to set sail on a ship that is the church, that needs navigators and also someone to swab the deck and also someone to steer the ship and also someone to be the lookout. There are varieties of gifts. There's a beloved community, a radical community that we are called to, that says, I don't have to win, and you don't have to lose, because we rise and we fall together, inextricably bound by mutuality. Thanks be to God.